Good morning. Welcome to Monday. Also welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe. That's Cris Carter, the Hall of Famer. This is Nick Wright. And all weekend, I was wondering how Nick was going to react if a decision came down. Now I'm wondering how Nick feels with the decision having been down.
This is probably what most people expected. This is what Vegas expected, but this is a landmark day in NBA history. First day of LeBron James being a Laker. Excited to talk about it.
Excited, absolutely. We should be.
Yeah, and you're a Laker fan.
Oh yeah, have been for a long, long time. Shoot, I got a bag by the front door. I'm ready to head to LA.
That's not what we wanted to hear.
He's trying to see if we can do this show in Los Angeles.
Nick and I got a little nervous. We thought we were moving.
It's all good. You've been a Laker fan since what, 1980?
Long time, since my brother was drafted by the Lakers. And, yeah, since then.
I wonder if the Lakers got a whole new host of fans overnight.
Oh, for
no,
sure.
No doubt.
No doubt.
All right, let us...
the hamstring to get on.
Let us begin there. This time, he said it would be different. No television event, no dramatic drum roll, no sweating it out. Just a simple press release. LeBron James heading to L.A. The King is a Laker. 4 years, $153.3 million. And so the LeBron watch is over. What this means for landing guys like Kawhi Leonard or any other free agent remains to be seen. Not that Kawhi is a free agent right now. For now, we know that come October, LeBron James will be donning the purple and gold. So, CC, besides being a fan of the Lakers, what was your reaction to LeBron James signing with the Los Angeles Lakers?
Well, he didn't really have too much of a choice in my regards. For one, he had to leave Cleveland based on their decision, which started over a year ago when they didn't extend the general manager. I believe was one of the fatal blows that had LeBron leave Cleveland for the second time. Philadelphia would have been a very, very good basketball decision. Going to Houston would have been, to me, a very, very questionable legacy decision because it was still, they're not a championship team, but they are a stacked team.
They're as close as you can be to being a championship team without having won.
And I didn't think it would help his legacy. You know, his first decision, it was about, and LeBron talked about, it was about going to college. His second decision was about a promise that he made to the people of Northeast Ohio. And this, to me, is the final family legacy. What is LeBron James, the King gang, what are they known for? And that's what I believe he's going to the Lakers for. I believe his family's very, very happy to be in Los Angeles for the rest of their lives. And I believe that LeBron believes that he can build something with an organization and with a person that I believe that he trusts. And that's why I believe they ended this very, very early. Had one conversation with Magic Johnson, lasted 3 hours, and he was able to decide this is where me and my family want to be. I'm very, very proud of him because it wasn't about basketball and chasing championships as far as priority. It's about his business and his family, and I'm glad that he decided to go to Los Angeles.
All right, well, I know this was a very difficult decision for LeBron, difficult as far as of 96 hours ago, there were still 4 teams on the table. Houston, Philly, Cleveland, and Los Angeles. That winnowed down to 3 teams when he opted out of his deal. But as of Friday, he had not made a definitive decision. It was not until that meeting with Magic Johnson and then the next morning that he decided Los Angeles is where I'm going to be. Now, I thought he was going to announce this via uninterrupted. I'm not quite sure where that changed or how, or if I was just got incorrect information on that. But he made this, he was truly weighing the decision of Philadelphia, which was the best place to win immediately. Cleveland, which would have given him the opportunity to essentially punt on the decision for a year, because I do not believe Cleveland was going to be a 4-year pact the way this one is, or Los Angeles. So it was a difficult decision for him to make, a decision that he only made in the last 48 hours, and it's also the most difficult decision for him basketball-wise. This team has the players, the organization has a great legacy of winning. The players on it have no experience winning. The players on it have no playoff experience, much less championship experience. It is also an organization where a deep playoff run means nothing to them in the grand scheme of things. This is a championship or bust organization. So why do I think he made this decision? Because at 33 years old, LeBron James is a father before he is anything else. And he's a husband before anything other than that. And he believes he said it early. Cris made a good point of paying attention to that, I think more so than most people did, that this was going to be a decision that he thought about LeBron James Jr. And while I know you don't love us talking about it, LeBron talks about him reaching the NBA. Where can he have the best chance to reach his goals? Where can Savannah, his wife, have the best chance to live her life? Where can his two younger kids go other than Cleveland or Akron, where they already have friends because he has homes and they have a life in Los Angeles? He made this decision because it was the best decision for the people around him and because he has such overwhelming confidence in his own basketball ability that he thinks anywhere he goes becomes a great basketball situation.
This is one of those things where when you're factoring it all in, it sort of makes sense. You're wondering if it does make sense, but in hindsight, it makes perfect sense. Because what are the three things that we all talked about were important to LeBron James? Titles, legacy, and family. And of all the teams he was considering, whether it was Philadelphia or staying in Cleveland or at the time going to Houston or the Lakers seems to be the only team, CC, that offers him all three. The chance to make his family happy, the chance to, if you add maybe another piece or two, win a title. And clearly the legacy is there. If he can be successful, the list of people that have already been a part of this Lakers franchise goes down as some of the greatest basketball players in NBA history.
Yeah, but the Lakers also, they did the right thing the last couple years. Lakers fans won't be happy. The basketball hadn't been very exciting. They've drafted some good players. They stabilized the front office with Magic Johnson and Pelinka taking over there. But they prepared for this day. And, Nick, you and I talked about it. Last week, Magic Johnson had that smug look on his face, and there was a reason why. And he had a lot of confidence that he was going to be able to land LeBron James, which I believe will be there will be an effect on the rest of the league. I believe Kawhi Leonard. I believe Kawhi will try to hold out to try to get to Los Angeles now that LeBron is there. And as long as LeBron is there, you're going to be surprised at what people do to try to get themselves on the Los Angeles Lakers. It's happened wherever LeBron has been. But I think the decision, and I like the priority of it. I'm not into his son making it to the NBA because, to me, that's not that important. That's not going to make the difference if he's better than Jordan or not. But a family's ability to be able to be together where all of them can be happy, that's what I know Los Angeles provides for all of them. Because you talked about his wife, the things she wants to do, the kids, the things they want to do. But at the end of the day, LeBron says those things, but at the end of the day, he's a man and he's a businessman. And it's best for him to be in Los Angeles. Also, they're a team, Jenna, that has plenty of cap space. They got young assets. They have draft picks. So there's a lot of things with L.A. that make the basketball decision. It's not a one-year decision. But next year when the free agent, when Clay becomes a free agent, Jimmy Butler becomes a free agent, KD can become a free agent. L.A. has a flexibility that if they don't have Kawhi, that they still have that they can dabble in that market again.
And that's a great point, that while right now this is not the best basketball situation, because it's Los Angeles and because they now have the best player in the world, while it isn't right now the best basketball situation, it is the single most attractive basketball situation for other players, whether it be Kawhi Leonard or upcoming free agents. I talked a lot about the reason I liked the fit in Philadelphia was I thought it allowed LeBron to age gracefully. He's 33, Embiid's 24, Simmons is 21. Well, Los Angeles allows something similar, but those people just aren't there yet. As long as they're the Lakers and they're in Los Angeles, they're going to be a free agent draw.
If he's able to get a star that's around 27,
right,
that's a better transition than, because we know Joel Embiid and them, we know when they get 27, 28, they're going to be pretty good.
Exactly right. And so right now, it's a bit of a gamble because Kawhi's not a free agent. And because Kawhi, the Spurs could hold the fort, they could trade him somewhere else, and Kawhi could, what happened with Paul George could happen with Kawhi, where he gets traded to. You know what? I love it here.
Yeah.
And Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant, they're both on the Warriors. If that team wins 3 in a row, all those guys might say, when the last team to win 4 in a row, it was Russell Celtics. So it is a risk because LeBron plus these guys is not enough to win a title. But I don't think LeBron's math was, where is the best place to win a title? That was part of it, but that wasn't the overwhelming factor. And much like, by the way, I don't think that was his overwhelming factor when he went back to Cleveland. Is this the best place to win a title?
No, he said it would take time.
Absolutely right. And so he made this decision differently. It's another chance for him to write a story of a legacy that's never been written before, and it's exciting to watch.
LeBron James is a Los Angeles Laker. Coming up, so much more to talk about, other factors that weigh in here. Why did Cleveland fail to keep LeBron for a second time? Tackle that one next on First Things First.
Hi, I'm Alexi Lawless. I used to play soccer back in the 1900s for the U.S. Now you can find me talking about soccer this summer during the World Cup on Fox. Now through July 15th, you can get daily FIFA World Cup updates from me through your Alexa-enabled device. Just say, Alexa, play the Fox Sports Flash Briefing, and you'll get the latest tournament news straight from Russia. Alexa and Alexi. Now that's a winning team. Don't forget to watch the 2018 FIFA World Cup all tournament long live on Fox and FS1.
All right, let's get back to basketball. Our top story for the second time. LeBron James will leave Cleveland for supposed greener pastures, this time in L.A. with the Lakers in a 4-year deal. In 4 years with the Cavs, he took them to 4 straight finals, winning the title in 2016. Owner Dan Gilbert, with whom LeBron has a reported shaky relationship with at best, released a statement that read in part, quote, LeBron, you came home and delivered the ultimate goal, nothing but appreciation and gratitude for everything you put into every moment you spent in a Cavaliers uniform. We look forward to the retirement of the famous number 23 Cavs jersey one day down the line. All right, Nick, let me ask you, how do you judge LeBron's last 4 years in Cleveland?
A tremendous success individually and for the franchise with a bunch of what-ifs. What if Kyrie or Kevin Love don't get hurt his first year there? This is that long process LeBron talked about it was going to be. Does it take just 1 year to win the title? The what if Kevin Durant doesn't make one of the most shocking decisions in sports history and joining up with the 73-win Warriors, do the Cavs win another title? I think they achieved as much as they possibly could have, given the injuries the first year and given Kevin Durant on the Warriors the next 2 years. But it does feel like there's a basketball universe that exists where the Cavs won 2 or 3 titles in these last 4 years, and LeBron is not even entertaining leaving. But that's not the universe that does exist. Kevin Durant did go there. Kyrie and Kevin Love did get hurt the first year, and they only won the 1 title, and it took an amazing set of circumstances to win that 1 title.
Over the course of my lifetime, I've heard comedians and other people just make a living off of Cleveland and Northeast Ohio. So for me, the legacy would be LeBron making the promise and fulfilling that promise. No championships for the Browns since Jim Brown, right? Before the NFL became currently as they stand. No championships for Cleveland, the heartache of the Cavs, the Indians, and LeBron was able to fulfill them like a lot of fans in their lifetime. They got a championship, and that's what they'll talk about. They won't talk about the missed opportunity. They'll talk about being down 3-1 and LeBron delivering. That's why I believe that the climate and the temperature there is totally different today because of what LeBron did and the sense of hope that he brought to Northeast Ohio. So for me, the kid made a promise, fulfilled the promise. That's what the last 4 years have been about. Some of the best basketball individually you would have seen.
And I think that's also why LeBron has released no statement. LeBron did not do the uninterrupted video a lot of people expected. LeBron did not. And LeBron, by the way, is not going to. LeBron,
he had one Instagram post sort of thanking.
He had one Instagram post where he added a brief caption, but his only real statement was the tweet sent out by the LeBron James Family Foundation that has a long quote. And that quote reads, "My chosen ones, nothing makes me more proud than to say that I am a kid from Akron and that we are family, as that is something we will forever be. I'm so excited to see many of you for the opening of the I Promise School and all of you for the family reunion. I may be working somewhere else now, but Akron will always be my home, #IPromise. That's the only extended statement LeBron's given. LeBron's not going to do a public appearance until July 30th at the opening of that school. And so to C's point, this is arguably the most hyped athlete ever who not only fulfills his promise on the court, but off the court, is putting $41 million of his own money to send over 1,100 kids to college. Those are the kids he's talking about. Those are the chosen ones he's talking about there. So that doesn't happen, at least not to this magnitude, without him going back. So whether he wins the title or not, that is probably his greatest legacy in Akron or in Northeast Ohio. I just meant on the court, I think LeBron looks back and said, man, we could have, even if people of Ohio are happy, we could have won a couple more titles here.
So you talk about the what ifs, which is very interesting, but unfortunately life doesn't work in what ifs. I feel like your thinking is had they won more titles, he would have stayed and wouldn't entertain thoughts of going back to LA. What about if Dan Gilbert had brought in more pieces? What if this year he finished up with maybe Kyrie's still on the team, maybe Paul George was on the team? I mean, would the work that Dan Gilbert have done, is there anything he could have done to get LeBron James to stay in Cleveland? Did he fail him in any way?
Well, I just believe Dan Gilbert's not a great manager. And you can see that based on the assets that he allowed to leave. Griffin leaving was monumental in my mind, because LeBron does not want to run an NBA team. He does not want to be involved in the day-to-day basketball decision. He has too many other things that he'd much rather be concerned about. So that, which led to also to Kyrie demanding a trade, letting Kyrie go. And, like, who would want to go through the season he went through last year? He's led the NBA in minutes. Forget about the 82 games he played this year, but the last 2 years. So his inability to be able to win championships in Cleveland, that, to me, forced him out.
Well, and I think on the Dan Gilbert front, listen, Dan Gilbert, ever since he wrote that horrific letter, he had to rebuild trust with LeBron. LeBron, when he went back there the first time, even though he wrote the nice piece in Sports Illustrated, clearly didn't fully trust Dan Gilbert. Twice signed a one-year deal. After the first year, still didn't fully trust Dan Gilbert. Signed another one-year deal. They then win the title. And so LeBron, for the first time, shows some type of trust to Dan Gilbert. He signs a 2-year deal. And how does Dan Gilbert repay that?
Firing.
By not bringing back David Griffin. They have a trade locked up, a 3-team trade. Adrian Wojnarowski talked about it this weekend. Nuggets, Pacers, Cavs, where you keep Kyrie and you get Paul George. And Dan Gilbert would not allow it to go through under the terms they had agreed upon unless Paul George and or LeBron made long-term commitments. So what's then the butterfly effect of that? Paul George is gone. By the way, could Paul George have been traded there and potentially the contract he just signed in OKC signed in Cleveland?
Sure.
Of course. Would Kyrie have been more interested in sticking around for another year? I don't know, but it seems like it would have been a more attractive basketball destination. Could that team have competed for a championship better than this team? Of course it could have. So the first time LeBron put any trust again in Dan Gilbert, 6 years after that letter, or 7 years after that letter, Dan Gilbert showed he was who LeBron feared he was. And so, like, you don't bring back the general manager. You try to force LeBron's hand into signing a premature extension, or else you don't do the Paul George trade. Like, that is, and now you've lost arguably the greatest basketball player ever twice in 5 years.
So is the answer yes? Did Dan Gilbert fail LeBron James?
Of course. Anytime you have, it's no different than Jerry Krause. Jerry Krause forced Michael Jordan and broke up that team there in Chicago. Would always be known for that. They got 6 rings. But what is he known for? Breaking up Michael Jordan and their run at championships. So, yes, he did.
All right. Lots to discuss here. How about Kawhi Leonard? What's going to happen with him now? Coming up, is Kawhi threatening to sit out next season? Talk about that next on First Things First. Paul George will not be joining LeBron in Lakerland. Instead, he signed a 4-year, $137 million deal to stay in OKC. CeCe, how surprised were you Paul George re-signed with the Thunder?
I wasn't that surprised. I think it's a tremendous thing for their organization. If you look at the 3 MVPs, 2 of them that they lost, it's also a tremendous compliment to Russell Westbrook that he was able to win George over.
Absolutely. And it seemed like all of a sudden, early last week, the seas started to shift towards this being the case. Russ flies in from Hawaii for this big party they throw to announce this. This is big for Paul George. It is enormous for Russ. It gives Russ an opportunity to kind of compete for championships, and it helps his reputation as a guy that doesn't necessarily run guys off.
All right, Kevin Durant is also staying put with his current team. He signed a 2-year, $61 million deal to stay with the Warriors, the second year being a player option. Cris, good move for Kevin Durant?
Yeah, absolutely. It gives him an opportunity, back-to-back MVPs in the NBA Finals. Never in the history of basketball have we had a guy that went to the team he went to, that he was the MVP of the Finals twice. So he's on a run that he must continue.
And it also gives him the opportunity to do what Chris Broussard talked about, which is in league circles, the idea that Durant's going to finish his career as a Warrior is not exactly a popular opinion, or it's not what people believe, I should say. And so continue this run as long as he wants it, but continue to give himself the flexibility. If he does want to move on at some point, he can.
All right, another player remaining put next season, Chris Paul. He signed a 4-year contract with the Rockets, paying him $160 million. He will once again team up with James Harden to try and take down those Warriors. Nick, good move for both sides here?
Absolutely. The Rockets got to try to run it back, coming as close as they did last year. And they got Chris Paul without having to add that 5th year. A 38-year-old Chris Paul on $44 million was never something the Rockets wanted to do. So maybe the 4th year of this deal they don't love, but the 5th year is what they were trying to avoid. They were able to avoid it.
I'm going to dial it back even one more year. I believe it's a good 2-year deal. Now, he's earned it as a player in the league that long, but we saw what happened to him this year. Most of 2 important games, not there. Guards do not age well in this league, so I believe the only way this works out is if they win a championship.
All right, back to the Lakers now. They are filling up their roster with players to go alongside LeBron James. Los Angeles signed JaVale McGee and Lance Stevenson to 1-year deals. You like these moves, CC?
Well, these guys are going to play between probably 10 and 16 minutes a game for a very, very young and talented Lakers team. I still need to see who's going to be some of them other pieces. Do they get Kawhi? But I believe the Lakers are off to a very good start.
Listen, JaVale's on the league minimum, and so I think you're absolutely right. He'd be a backup center and come in, do a little pick and roll. Lance surprised some people, I'm sure, because Lance and LeBron have this on-court thing. But the Cavs a couple years ago pursued Lance, and LeBron gave it the okay. LeBron doesn't have any problem with the idea of playing with Lance. It was the KCP for $12 million, the one. That's the deal I didn't totally understand. Lance at $4.5 million, JaVale at the league minimum. I get that.
Finally, LeBron is joining a core of young Lakers. Among these players include the 2017 second overall pick, Lonzo Ball, the 2016 second overall pick, Brandon Ingram, and last year's rookie sensation, Kyle Kuzma. CeCe, which one of these young players should LeBron be the most excited to play with?
Whew, that's most excited to play with, I'll say Lonzo Ball, for the style for which he plays, a very, very unselfish player. Also, I believe that maybe 1 or 2 of those young players not going to be there. I don't believe Ingram will be there. So I'll go with Ball because for the style for which he plays, and it's still almost not a blank canvas, but it's a beautiful canvas to be able to paint on. If he's your point guard at over 6'5", the type of height and length that they have on the court, I believe that would be exciting for LeBron.
I think stylistically, Ball is a great point guard fit for LeBron because he doesn't need the ball in his hands all the time the way a lot of point guards do. The ball never sticks with him. He's a good perimeter defender, the size, and he's a better athlete than I thought he was going to be coming out of UCLA. So you can see him going backdooring some lobs from LeBron. Ingram right now is their best young player. But to C's point, Ingram is also the player most likely to be traded. He is their best trade asset for most teams right now. He doesn't have the baggage of Lonzo. He's the one that's most likely right now to be able to come in and score 20 points a game. But Kuzma's interesting. And Kuzma's a guy I know you've liked all year long. If they're able to keep Kuzma, I know you're excited about seeing how he can pair up with LeBron.
Yeah, I saw LeBron and Jeff Green, and I believe that Kuzma's a better player than Jeff Green. Younger, athletic, can shoot the ball. So I believe that you'll see LeBron and him team up. LeBron likes players like him. He's a very impressionable person. And he's not a kid right out of high school. You know, he's been to college. He showed some maturity and everything, especially on the court as far as his game and his versatility.
And real quick, there was a report that Lonzo is the one player on the Lakers LeBron has no interest playing with. I don't believe that to be true. I think LeBron is above a lot of the Ball family drama.
You think that's the reason, or the reason it was more of a basketball thing?
No, it would not have been a basketball thing. Because
it was
listen,
the extra stuff.
Yeah, Lonzo's not a great shooter. We know that. But Lonzo also the second half of the year was near 40% on catch-and-shoot threes. That's what he'd be shooting if he's alongside LeBron. I think basketball fit, it's an excellent fit because Lonzo doesn't have to bring the ball up the court all the time. And I think LeBron's above the whatever LeVar says and stuff like that.
Lonzo's also coming off that torn meniscus, so we'll have to see how soon he's able to come back into that lineup. All right, so now that LeBron is heading to the Lakers, where does this leave Kawhi Leonard? As of now, he is still a Spur, a disgruntled Spur, an aggrieved Spur, but still a Spur. And if you're wondering if he's totally cool with that, he's totally not. According to reports, if he is not traded, he may sit out the entire upcoming season. Further reports are that he still wants to be a Laker. Cris, now that the Lakers have LeBron, should they do whatever it takes to go get Kawhi?
I'm not going to say whatever it takes, but they do have the assets in the players and the draft picks that San Antonio would need to be able to pull off this trade. And also, you have to look at what's going on in the East. As Philadelphia, now that they've lost LeBron, what are they going to do? Because San Antonio can still trade him to the East. I believe that the West, they'll get more for him because of his demands. He talks about sitting out, and all those things are true. I just believe right now Kawhi is to the point, and he's been convinced by his team that the money that he's actually turning down for San Antonio is not the amount on paper. They believe through other things, that being either through shoe contracts or potentially being in L.A., what he would make off the court, paired with LeBron James, like those numbers aren't as far as apart as people have reported.
All right, so before I get to the idea that Kawhi would sit out the year, just as far as what I would offer for him, if I'm the Lakers, my offer got worse, not better, in the last 48 hours. I was here on Thursday and Friday saying you could basically have your pick of whatever, because if you're not just trading for Kawhi, you're trading for Kawhi and LeBron.
And now you have LeBron.
Well, now you already have LeBron. And now also we are seeing the Celtics. They are not really in the game here. Like the Celtics, if the Celtics aren't even considering coming off Jaylen Brown, much less Jason Tatum, then they are not going to make a package attractive enough. Philly, I haven't seen a single proposal from Philly that includes what I think is their most attractive piece that's available, not Simmons or Embiid, but Markelle Fultz. Yeah. It's Saric, Covington, and draft picks. If you make that move, if you're San Antonio, then what you're saying is we're not going to be good for at least 3 years. Like those draft picks one day will come into play. And so the Lakers, the reports are from Adrian Wojnarowski, the Lakers' offer has gotten worse each time they've talked. Because early on, there was a sense of urgency. The more confident they were getting LeBron, the worse those offers got. And Kawhi, whatever people think of what Kawhi's doing, Kawhi has kneecapped the Spurs' leverage in this. Like the Celtics don't want to be in the game because they think it's a one-year rental.
And this is something people never thought Kawhi would do. Say, he didn't have the guts, he didn't have the personality, he's a really quiet guy, he's not going to stand up to him. He's done everything that people didn't think that he would do.
But don't the Sixers and the Celtics have the one thing that the Lakers don't, which is the Spurs don't want to give in to the Lakers. The Spurs don't want to keep Kawhi Leonard in the West, and maybe they do that to spite themselves by just shipping him to the East. No?
When was the last bad deal San Antonio did? Now, they don't do bad deals. Now, if you look at Pop's background, he's one of the greatest coaches ever. Pop's background comes from the front office. Pop knows he's only going to coach 2 more seasons. R.C. Buford is their general manager. It's not as if he's going to. They'll hold on to Kawhi compared to making a bad deal in the East.
And by the way, if Kawhi is to be believed, you'd only be keeping him away from the West for 1 season. So you can't sacrifice, because he's a free agent. He can go wherever he wants. You can't sacrifice your future in order to prove a point to Kawhi Leonard. Now, to the report that Kawhi might sit out the year, I am all for player power. I am all for player empowerment. I am all for players, when they have leverage, exerting leverage. I would not be okay with a healthy Kawhi Leonard simply saying, I am not going to honor my contract. If the Spurs, listen, you run a risk when you demand a trade. You run a risk when you go down this route, and it typically works out for the players. If the Spurs want to be stubborn and wait until the trade deadline, if Kawhi is healthy, I do feel he has an obligation to go play basketball, much like I was not okay with the idea that Kyrie Irving was going to have a preemptive surgery if the Cavs didn't trade him. There has to be a limit to where we say, okay, you've played your hand, and whether you win or lose, you've got got to, at some point, do what you're paid to do.
Well, you can't say that you want out without going to this extreme, though. You do have to realize when you say, I don't want to be in the organization, you say, oh, well, how bad do you not want to be here? Well, I'm willing to sit out. Now, it has zero to do if you agree with it. But when you say I'm trying to get out of an organization, if you're trying to force their hand, then ultimately that's the last bit of leverage that you have as a player.
But this I've never seen. Like Paul George made it clear he thought he wanted to go to L.A. And so what he said was, guys, I'm not re-signing here. There's no chance I'm re-signing here. You're going to lose me for nothing. You may as well trade me. That is a big difference between I'm not re-signing here, I'm not staying, and I'm not going to play when I'm under contract. Like, that's something, the first we had heard of it, that I had heard an example like this, was Kyrie allegedly threatening the surgery, and most people didn't believe that actually happened because it seemed a bridge too far.
Sam's talking to me while I'm trying to ask a question.
Go ahead,
Sam, I'm not listening to you right now. So wouldn't it behoove the San Antonio Spurs to do something now? Because the longer they wait, the longer the Lakers know they've got him, the longer the East is not going to need him anymore, and they can actually get something back from him. For him, and as opposed to the chance that he may sit out the entire season, they don't get anything, and it's lose-lose on both sides.
I think that this is not so different than if you've been in a bad negotiation selling a house, and you just both sides come together and say, listen, last and final. Best and final, I should say. Like, let's be honest here. Lakers, what is your best offer? And what is your final offer? And let's find out. Or else you're not getting him this year. And the one piece of leverage I think the Spurs do have, I don't know if leverage is the right word, is even if Kawhi, you're not allowed to do this, but let's say Kawhi could sign a contract today that makes him a Laker next season. I would still argue the Lakers should trade for him, because what's not going to happen a year from now is year 16 of LeBron James.
Right.
Now that you have, you'll have year 17 of LeBron James, it's one less year of LeBron in this extended part of his prime. That's where I think the Spurs and Lakers potentially are going to be on the same page.
I'm with Kawhi. When you decide you don't want to work somewhere, you have to be able to take the people to the hilt. And that's what it's going to take to get out of San Antonio. I'm with Kawhi getting out.
Even if it takes the whole year?
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, what do I care about? Like that. When you get to this point from a negotiation standpoint, that's what you have to do. If you felt like, which he feels like, they breached his trust. When they misdiagnosed him, when they sent him out there when he wasn't healthy, this is beyond some just regular decision about some contract. This is about you. I trusted my body with you, and you didn't give me the right information. I'm not going back on that basketball court with San Antonio jersey on my chest.
And it should be noted that even if he was going to be able to get over the misdiagnosis, what Zach Lowe reported this weekend was the final straw was Tony Parker's comments. And whether Kawhi believes those comments were from the top down of the organization or not, what Zach Lowe said was that Tony Parker's comments were the final thing that made him say, I will never play for this organization.
And it wasn't true. His injury was not that much worse than Kawhi.
Than Kawhi's. All right, let's take a break. Coming up, how will LeBron's legacy be impacted by heading to Tinseltown? That's next on First Things First. Welcome back to First Things First. Time now for your World Cup wake-up. Russia stunning the soccer world yesterday, beating Spain 4-3 in penalty kicks. Russia will now play Croatia in the quarterfinals on Friday on FS1.
Russia advancing is an amazing story. Beating Spain. I know Spain fired their manager right before the tournament, but they were so much more talented than Russia. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, of the 16 teams, Russia was the highest-ranked team. So they had the least probability as far as advancing. Great story for their country, and facing Croatia, and that's going to be a knockdown drag-out.
Croatia escaped, too, by the way. These were 4 amazing games this weekend to start out the knockout round. Amazing games.
All right, our top story again this morning, LeBron James and his big move out west. LeBron is now a Laker, signing a 4-year deal to play for Magic Johnson. Another former Laker great, Kobe Bryant, expressed his happiness with the move. Kobe tweeted, welcome to the family, King James. Hashtag Lakers for life. Hashtag strive for greatness. At Jeannie Buss, Magic Johnson, and Rob Pelinka, well done. Nick, I heard a little something over the corner, or like somewhere right over here. Is it going to be hard for LeBron to create his own Lakers legacy with so many great players in the history of this franchise?
Not if they win a title. I mean, this is the most successful franchise in the history of professional basketball, but it's also going through its worst extended stretch, arguably, in the history of the franchise. Like these last, basically, since Kobe popped his Achilles, what they've been through over the last 5 years, the Lakers have no modern precedent for that. But people need to understand how absurd it is, the history this franchise has. You have the people C makes fun of me all the time for my updated player rankings, but I love this part of sports commentary. Here's the guys that I believe are the 12 greatest players ever. You can argue over the order. I think most people would agree with the 12. The Lakers now got 7 of them. All of them, if you consider LeBron still in his prime, all of them in their prime. I'm not talking about like the year they had Karl Malone or anything like that. Argue about the order. Those are your 12 best players ever. The Lakers have now had. See, what's up? What's up?
You put LeBron ahead of Jordan on your graphic.
Well, of course. I
I
said it was my top 12. But even if you have LeBron at 2 or 3, whatever, you have him in the top 12. Everyone
point.
So the point is, the Lakers now have played for them in their primes. The best point guard ever, the second and third best shooting guards ever, the best small forward ever, the best center, along with the third and fourth best centers. Like, it is absurd what an amazing legacy this franchise has, and now LeBron steps into it.
And typically that legacy, not only with great basketball, has been around the centers, as you talked, because they've been able to get 3, as you mentioned, of the best ever, but eventually they were going to get a great player. Like, the Lakers could have gotten Kevin Durant. Like, it just happens to be LeBron. This is what the Lakers do. And all those players outside of Elgin Baylor, right?
And Elgin wasn't on that list,
right.
Sure.
They won a championship.
They all won championships.
So for LeBron to be successful, he's got to be able to hoist a title, for the Lakers.
And LeBron follows in the footsteps of the centers in this regard. None of those centers were drafted by the Lakers.
Yes.
Shaq was drafted by the Magic. Kareem was drafted by the Bucks. Wilt was drafted by the Sixers. Like, all of those guys came to L.A. as a destination because they wanted to be there, just like LeBron.
So how does LeBron cement his legacy? Is it 1 title? Is it 2? Is it somehow getting the Lakers back to relevance? Like, time-wise and title-wise, what would you place on him being able to say LeBron?
Well, this is the thing. We have to go back 4 years in time where LeBron, he was already a champion. So he was already in a different class as far as what he's trying to prove. But the thing we couldn't predict even 4 years ago, where the NBA will be in 2 years. We had no clue Golden State would come together as far as the talent and gel. Steph Curry being one of the best players. We had no clue 2 years after that they would add Kevin Durant. So sitting here today, July the 2nd, 2008, trying to say, okay, in the NBA in 4 years, this is what it's going to be like. I mean, the Lakers might have 2 other stars by then. I believe LeBron will win a championship in Los Angeles, and his legacy will be predicated on him winning that championship.
If he does win a championship in Los Angeles, he'll become the first player ever to be the best player on a title team for 3 different franchises. He can take 3 different franchises to the finals. The coaches he's played for in his career, by the way, that he's gotten to the NBA Finals right now are Mike Brown, Eric Spoelstra before Spoelstra had any championship pedigree, David Blatt, Ty Lue, and now he's playing for Luke Walton. Like, I don't think LeBron needs to play another basketball game in his life to cement his legacy. I don't think he needs to win a title to cement his legacy. I don't think he made this move because it was the best place to win a title. But if he does win a title in Los Angeles, and I agree with C, over the course of the next 5 years, I would imagine he likely will, it just further makes his career the path of which no one has ever followed. Like an unprecedented career from start to finish.
He can't be the he wouldn't be the best player to ever wear a Laker uniform, but what would it take for him to be close?
Well,
so when you say
Nick
think
already
Lakers,
has him number one on the list.
Has the best Laker.
Well, no. There's a difference between the question. The best Laker ever.
I'm talking
and
about
the best
Laker legacy.
Right. The best player to ever wear a Laker uniform, it's either Magic, Kareem, or LeBron, depending on how you do the rankings. I think you right now would say it's LeBron. Right? You think he's the second greatest player ever behind Michael Jordan. So the best player to ever wear a Laker uniform. But that's very different than best Lakers ever, right? Who are you going to pass? Like, are you going to pass Jerry West and his 9 trips to the finals, who right now is like the 6th best Laker ever? You're going to pass Shaq and his 3 rings, who's like you're not.
Their tradition is too rich to make that comparison or to try to go down that road, because there's no way that you can prove in the next. Even if LeBron was win 2 titles.
Yeah.
I mean, Magic's got 5. Jerry West, I mean, all these things that the Lakers, they have too much tradition for a guy at the end of his career to come in and be like, what's he going to do as a Laker?
If he plays 4, maybe 5 years, are you ever going to think Lakers and think LeBron? Or are you always going to think, depending on when you watched, you're going to think Kobe, or you're going to think Shaq, or you're going to think Kareem or Magic, depending on when you watch this team?
You know, you got to look at it like the Yankees. When you see the pinstripes, the pinstripes override the talent. You don't think Jeter, Rivera, it's about the Yankees and the institution of the Yankees. The Lakers, it's the same way. You can't identify the Lakers with one basketball identity. And if you were, it would be Showtime, and it would be magic.
It'd be magic. I think that the Laker great that I had on that list that he has the most likelihood of having a similar arc to is Wilt. Wilt did a ton before he got there, was awesome when he got there, won a title there. But when you think of Wilt Chamberlain, you don't associate a single team with him. You think of overall dominance. I think a similar thing's going to happen with LeBron. Like, when you think of LeBron, some people might think of the Heat. First times he won the title. Some people might think of the time in Cleveland. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people will.
The cement is still wet. We don't have to make that decision, because we don't know. We didn't know with the Cavs he was going to win. We didn't know he was going to come back from down 3-1. That's the reason why the Cavs, to me, is even bigger than anything that he did in Miami, because the lack of talent and who he was going against, who he defeated. The Lakers, man, we don't know. He could have a Western Conference semifinals, knockdown, drag out 7 games with James Harden. He could go to the Western Conference finals, have a knockdown, drag out, beat Golden State in 7. Like, there's still a lot of drama that this will produce.
That's the key is, I mean, you're saying we would think Cavs, and right now, yes, that's true. If he goes to Los Angeles and that's how they dethrone the Warriors, then all of a sudden we change the math on it. Like,
even if it's one time. Even if he plays there 4 years and he
it was only one time. It was only one championship in Cleveland.
But it's a difference between getting an organization the first title in 52 years.
In year 16, 17, it's taking the chance. There's no one. It's not like they got Paul George this morning. They had traded for Kawhi this weekend, and LeBron was joining this great team. No, LeBron's the only star on a very, very young but talented Lakers roster.
But it is amazing when we look at the grand scheme of things, how there are certain franchises in sports that no matter what, and no matter what mismanagement they have at times, no matter what either bad luck they may fall into, that they always end up okay. Like the Lakers are always going to be okay. Part of that's the city, part of that's the history, part of that is just being kissed by God, I guess. They looked like 2 years ago, they were giving Timothy Mozgov $72 million on the first moment of free agency with no plan in hand. And now all of a sudden LeBron James is there.
All right, coming up, how will Lonzo Ball fit in next to LeBron? We just touched on it. We'll dive a little deeper next on First Things First. Back here on First Things First, we welcome in former All-NBA guard Rod Strickland. Hey, Rod.
Good morning.
Good to see you. How are you, sir?
We got big news to discuss. You said you were surprised by Paul George, but not too surprised by LeBron James. LeBron James obviously being the biggest story that he's going to the Lakers.
Yes, I was surprised about Paul George. Just for some reason, I thought he would take that challenge to go with the Lakers.
But LeBron? going to the Lakers.
LeBron, I figured that would happen. We heard about his son possibly going to a school out there.
Oh, yeah, Gary Payton with the scoop.
Yeah.
Black Sports Online. He was right about that.
So we had an inclination of that.
All right, Rod, so LeBron James is king of the decision, that is. Remember, this one didn't have the drama of the original decision or the cachet of decision 2.0. This one was subdued, and some might even call it classy. I don't know. Press release from his agency that read simply, LeBron will sign with the Lakers for 4 years, $153 million. So the big LeBron watch is over. He will not, in fact, stay in Cleveland. It's now showtime for LeBron James. So, Rod, I'll go back to you. What was your reaction once sort of the dust settled about LeBron now playing for the Lakers?
Well, I was excited because we get to see something different in the upcoming season. It's like when Chris Paul went to Houston, I was excited.
Yeah.
Because now we get to see a different scenario, a different challenge. So now we have LeBron James, the greatest player of all, well, not of all time, but one of the greats. We get to see him try to go to the Lakers, restore organization, and do some things with a young team.
But from a surprise standpoint, most of your basketball lifetime, you have seen this is what the Stars have done, either through draft or somehow they end up in Los Angeles. It seems like the basketball world is not right unless you got a star in Los Angeles. So you're used to that.
Well, and I agree. And I also say, I've always said in L.A. and New York, you want all the stars. You know, that's when the league is at its best.
New York didn't get that memo, so I just want to...
I know. We're working on that. We're working on that.
What do you think of... Listen, there is a school of thought from some people that LeBron has no interest in playing with Lonzo Ball. Right. I wasn't an all-NBA point guard, but I try to study the game as best as I can. On the court, I feel like Lonzo's a great fit for LeBron. His style, the way he doesn't have to have the ball, the way the ball never sticks in his hands. Yeah. How do you think, if Lonzo's not traded, those two guys fit together?
Well, I think during the regular season it could be good because the game will go up and down. And I think Alonzo, like you said, he gets rid of the ball. And he doesn't need the ball in his hands all the time. He likes to, shoot three-point shots. So I think it will work. My problem is in the playoffs and the further you're trying to go. Now you have teams kind of honing in on your offense. They're going to key on him or key off of him, let him take shots. Now, is he going to make shots? I think the key for him will be, can he make shots? His playmaking ability is great, but we have LeBron James. So we don't actually need that kind of playmaking from Lonzo Ball.
So there's a little overlapping skill set there.
A little overlapping skill set.
Go ahead, Jenna.
I was going to say, what are do you place expectations on a guy like LeBron James? Is it win the title or bust? Is it get to the Western Conference Finals or bust? You look at him with all these young guys like Lonzo, like you said. What are the expectations for what makes this a successful season?
I think it's win or bust.
Everything.
I think it has to be. He's one of the greats. He's making a move. He's going to one of the most storied franchises in the NBA history. So I think he has to win, and I think that's what he's going there for.
Yeah, I think LeBron takes the court a lot like he did this season. You're not thinking about a championship. You're thinking about gelling. You're thinking about trying to figure out where the guys want the ball, how they play best on defense, what are the best schemes that we might be able to run, how can I make them better. That's what LeBron's going to do during the regular season. During the regular season, man, you play checkers. Now, when they get to the postseason, that's what LeBron is trying to position. And if the Lakers, this is not a win right now or it's a failure. If he doesn't get enough players, he will try to retool next year. What Magic Johnson said, it is not a one summer, so we can't make this as being a one move. They are not ready to win a championship. So for me, LeBron James, it's about making these guys better, showing these guys in the offseason. Because let me tell you something, whatever they were doing in the offseason, it changed. I don't care if Ball was watching film with Magic, because I have heard from the Ray Allens, from the Dwayne Wades, from the Shane Batty A's, from Richard Jefferson, from
Mike Miller, the whole list.
Channing Frye. I've never had a teammate that worked as hard. I've never had a teammate that when I came in 1 hour early, I thought I was ready. I was already an hour late. So that whole culture there in Los Angeles, I believe, is getting ready to change.
I think Rod brings up a really important point that I want to expand on, which is the difference between the regular season and the playoffs. Because this is the biggest risk LeBron's taking in this decision. Like, if he goes to Philly, it's not a ton of playoff experience, but those guys have been there. They saw it for at least a year. Ben Simmons saw, man, I'm going to have to get better. I'm on my way.
He got exposed.
He got exposed, and he saw how different that is. Obviously, Houston, even if he stays in Cleveland, they all went to the finals this past year. Nobody on LA that matters has been to the playoffs. Like Lance and JaVale come in, at least those guys have playoff experience. For all those guys, the way the defense has changed, the way the intensity changes, the way the coaching and schematics change, we have no idea how Ingram, Ball, Kuzma are going to react in that environment. That's the biggest gamble LeBron's taking.
Yeah, but that's the greatness of LeBron. You know, I think we've seen him carry teams and carry players. You know, he hasn't always had the greatest talent. And so I think his playmaking ability takes pressure off everyone. Because like you said, it becomes pressure, but now Kuzma's in the corner, everybody's on LeBron, and that shot is just different. You know, you get an open look. So I think LeBron takes a lot of pressure off a lot of the young players. And like Cris said, during the season, he's going to give them that confidence. You know, he'll talk them through, you know, the way they work out, the way they play, everything is going to change. He's going to make sure they're ready and prepared mentally and physically.
But tell me, how much different is this than Tristan Thompson? Tristan Thompson didn't have no resume before LeBron got there. How different is this than JR as a throw-in pick? Oh, man, JR didn't have no positive career experience. We saw Hood this year. I'm just going to tell you, if I go into the playoffs, I want talented players. All right? We'll work out the experience part. And you could see in the playoffs the lack of talent, the lack of shot makers that the Cavs had. It came back and it hurt them.
Well,
go ahead.
You can look at LeBron when he made his first run. You had Boobie Gibson and you had Mo Williams. He made Mo Williams an all-star. You know, and he's a good player, but he wasn't an all-star. You know, Boobie Gibson, you know, we knew his name, you know, but after LeBron left, those guys were totally different. So LeBron makes a huge difference.
You don't think this is the team as constructed that's going to start the season? I mean, you have to assume the Lakers are going to add at least another piece. It may or may not be a Kawhi, but it might be a guy like a Boogie Cousins or at least somebody else that's got a little bit of experience that's going to work with LeBron.
Absolutely. You know, LeBron's going there to win a championship and to cement his legacy. So I'm sure there's been conversations, and I'm sure there's ongoing talks about who's going to be with him. And Boogie will be great.
And right, you could see how the Lakers immediately reacted to free agency. People didn't know what was going to happen, but immediately sat down with LeBron. They came to an agreement. To me, the agreement was already there. It's just after the conversation, could they go ahead and stamp it? But then, they don't go after a big-time free agent. They go after these small little pieces. JaVale McGee, role player. You're at the league minimum. Lance at $4 million. You know there's something between the bottom of that roster and LeBron James, and I believe it's going to be Kawhi Leonard.
I think that they are certainly hoping it's Kawhi, because if the backup plan for Kawhi is Boogie, and I know we'll talk more about this later, I'm curious, that's a risk too. Boogie has never played in a playoff game. Boogie also is a big, big human being coming off a tough injury for the bigger you are in that Achilles injury. Now, LeBron has said Boogie is, he thinks, the best big man in the league. But Boogie is, I mean, a volatile personality, I think is a fair way to put it.
Boogie's a bad boy, my God.
Right, no, in a good way, right, is what you're saying. No,
very good
he's
way.
an outstanding. We saw him play brilliant basketball this year, but it's a guy that you don't know. Now, LeBron would probably say is, guess what? When I got to Cleveland, how much playoff experience Kevin Love have? Oh, he'd never been. How much playoff experience Kyrie have? Oh, he'd never been. How much playoff experience my damn coach had? Oh, he was in Israel coaching, or he was in Russia coaching, pardon me. So LeBron probably believes he's the tide that can raise all the boats, but it's still a gamble for him.
Yeah, but Boogie Cousins is a different animal. Like, if I had to take him and go to war on the basketball court, I'm taking him. He's going to compete. He's not going to back down. I don't think the moment will ever be too big for him.